Hello everybody, welcome to Tokyo. I'm in front of Big Camera, that's what that says up here. It's one of the big electronic stores in Tokyo. How you doing everybody? This is where a lot of people come to buy their electronic products, whether it's for everyday use like in the house, washing machines, TVs, even bicycles they have in here. And on August 1st, all of the products are gonna be hiked up from 8% sales tax to 10% sales tax. That's a 2% increase. That's kind of a big deal. But the question is why? Why would Japan hike its taxes, especially since we're so close to having a recession? Well, the answer is that in 2014, the rates were hiked from 5% to 8% because Japan has one of the largest public debt problems. All right. All of the money from consumption tax, which is really sales tax, goes towards paying down the debt or paying for the social obligations that Japan has for the elderly, for healthcare, to take care of the aging population. And because there aren't enough kids to pay for this, they have to do things like sales tax. Japan, before 1997, Japan's sales tax was 3%. All right, and before, I believe it was 1974, there was no sales tax in Japan. So it's something that is sort of a new thing, whereas the United States, we have sales tax per state. Every state has their own levied sales tax. In Japan, it's national, just like most countries. Europe has a VAT, a value-added tax. Japan calls it a consumption tax in English. And that consumption tax is 8% right now, and in 30 days, it's going to be 10%. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean if you're over there shopping for a new TV or something inside the shop, or you're going to be taking the train or the Shinkansen or eating out at a restaurant? Someone just wrote in dang taxes. Yes, this is the Only Japan Go channel. This is a live stream. Check out the live chat that's going on. There's a button that you can push in the playback to see what everyone else is saying. Now, this has been a long time coming, actually. And let me tell you a little bit about the history of the sales tax or consumption tax in Japan. When I came to Japan in 1998, the sales tax was 5%. The year before that, I remember in the news that Prime Minister Hashimoto, who was Prime Minister at the time, he'd raised the sales tax from 3% to 5%, and Japan went crazy and it was in a recession. When I came to Japan, it was in a huge recession. The exchange rate was awful. It was $1. I could buy 147 yen, I believe, at one point in 1998, right? And then if you put that in, let's put that in perspective. After the Lehman Brothers crashed, like around 2010, I believe, the exchange rate was half that. The yen was way stronger than the dollar because the yen was a safe haven for currencies. So, yeah, now we're fluctuating about $1 equals 106 yen right now. But how does this affect you as a tourist coming here to visit Japan? It means that you're going to pay more no matter what on things that you are going to need every day, but not everything. And let me explain. Beer is not going to be taxed. No, I'm serious. I actually have, from the Department of Finance, published this document in English. I'll put a link in the description so you can take a look at it, to learn about the consumption tax. And I've been learning about it right here. It tells you some of the goods that will be taxed and why. It's kind of a neat, it's kind of a neat document. And it also shows the other countries. Here's a graph that shows you the public debt and how Japan is not meeting its obligations. The premiums paid is what the younger people are paying, then the public funds, which is the consumption tax, and then the benefits are way above what we're paying. So the blue line and the gray line here is the money coming in, and the red line is how much is owed because they have to pay all this in benefits. And Japan is just not meeting its obligations. But beer won't be taxed. Beer won't be taxed. And as a result of it, let me tell you something. Kirin is reported to be producing 20% more beer to take advantage of the depressed people that are going to be looking for answers with alcohol for why they have to pay more in taxes every year. Because Japan has been in something of a deflationary spiral since since as long as I can remember, at least for 20 years, where there's no inflation actually happening, which is bad. As the rest of the world's prices get more expensive, Japan stays the same. A price of a can of Coke is the same as it was 10 years, 20 years ago, pretty much. Other products that won't be taxed, the 10% surcharge on October 1st, restaurants. All right, so a lot of the restaurants don't have to pay this because it will be too much of a shock to the system. So they put a lot of thought into this because in 2014, April 2014, when I was here, I remember they initiated the 8% sales tax, and there was a buying frenzy for about 6 months. And then after the buying frenzy had subsided, there was a recession. Like nobody was buying anything. New cars, new electronic appliances. It was just like a dead period. May, June, July, which is sad because that's when the summer sales are. Japan this time is trying to do it a little bit different. They have more incentives. They actually have public works increases. They're doing a bunch of discounts and tickets for vendors to make sure that there's not a recession afterwards. But it makes you wonder if that's even possible with the current climate of the economies of the world right now. So I'm actually in the market for buying a new TV, and I saw that the prices in here are now 20% cheaper than just a month ago. There's an LG 65-inch flat panel, the C9, which was 400,000 yen, about $4,000, is now down to 325,000 yen, or about $3,000. So it's gone down about $900 if you do it with the currency. Just depends what exchange rate you're using. And right now, they're starting to have some massive sales because it's the end of the tax cycle for Yodobashi Camera and Big Camera and some of the big electronic stores. So there's never been a better time to buy, especially since it's all going to be 2% cheaper now than later, right? But there's a list of other products. I'll put a list in the description as well as a link to this flyer. I don't think it's going to affect travelers too much. It's just 2% more, but you're going to have to pay it because not everybody is tax-free. Meaning, you can keep your receipts and go to the airport, but unless you're spending a lot of money, it doesn't really pay for that 2%. You know what I mean? Places where you can use tax-free stuff are Big Camera like this, so you might want to make sure you do that so you get 10% back. All of that value-added consumption tax you can get back at the airport. I can't. I tried once. The lady said, "Do you have your passport?" And I did, because I was extending my visa, and I showed it to her. He goes, "Oh, you're a resident. You can't do that." And then I learned that I can't enjoy the tax, and I shouldn't, because the taxes support the social system. In Japan, it is really let's walk this way. It's really our responsibility, and this is the way I take it, to pay and make sure that the benefits are covered, because one day I hope to use these benefits as well. Me not being Japanese, maybe it's not going to be around, who knows, but you still have to pay it because this is your home. I'm now walking underneath Yurakucho Station, which is the Yamanote line, is now above us. A ton of renovations and construction projects are happening because the 2020 Olympics are imminent. They'll be taking place in just less than a year now. What is it, like 10 months from now? And everyone who's coming is going to experience a 10% tax. Why is this good, right? Taxes are never good, right? I don't know, because there was a episode that I made on the Only Japan Go channel stating that we had a 1,000 yen tax increase at the airport, and I've seen that the taxes they've actually made good on that promise, and there's better system of handling foreign tourists coming in. So I can see the progress that they've made by collecting the taxes. I'm always hesitant to give any taxes because when you give taxes to the government, they usually will pay $500 for a wrench, $300 for a roll of toilet paper. They're not really good at getting the best deals. At least that's been our experience in the United States. But Japan seems to be doing a pretty good job with using the tax money for its intended purposes. Of course, there are scandals. Of course. Japan has its share of political scandals, trust me, as much as we think this is such an honest place. The politics and business side of it is dark. But 10% is actually a good thing, and I'm going to tell you why. since 2014, for the last 5 years, it's been so hard to estimate what the cost of things are going to be because you have to add 8% to everything that you buy. And I would do like 10% and I would do 5% and then add a little bit more. And it's like, okay, that's pretty close. But it was just annoying. But with 10%, it's like the metric system. It just will be so easy to calculate how much more tax I'm going to be needing in order to pay for things. Again, as a tourist, as much as you're going to want to escape any taxes, it's going to be very, very hard because it's just going to be assessed on everything except for places like restaurants. You see right here, this is a chain restaurant. They are exempt from the tax. And so are the convenience stores that are selling food. There's a list of goods in here. Actually, there's a list of goods in my government-sanctioned flyer. Let's take a look at them. It is a pretty interesting flyer indeed. It tells you how it's the benefits of the consumption tax. I like that they made this in English. The benefits of the consumption tax, mainly for the media, and how it's stabilizing payments of the basic pension system. And you get all the information and the numbers. So they make it very, very clear. They've done their homework because they know that they have to be very transparent so that nobody cries too loud. And then here's a graph of all of the worldwide. United States is in here because we have taxes by state consumption tax. We don't have a federal consumption tax. But you can see here Japan. Do you see it right there? It's the purple one on the right side. Japan and Korea will have the same tax rate, and then you'll see all the other countries are way above it. Now, there's a gray and a blue line. Let me explain this. The blue line is the reduced rate. You can see here, meaning some items have a reduced tax rate, and then there's a standard rate, which is the gray one that goes up to the top. So, for example, see here, the UK has a standard rate of 20 for everything, but then Sweden has a tax rate of, let me see here, 12% for some goods and 25% for everything else. So that's what that means here. And Japan, which is right there in the purple, right here, you can see they're still pretty low, but I don't know. Oh, hello. How you doing? I'm actually live now. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. What's your name?
Mil.
Mil? Nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Philippines.
All right. Welcome
I was
to Japan.
just up there shooting the 2 trains.
Oh, you saw that episode?
Yeah, I saw it from
right there in the corner there where
Yep.
they combined. Did you get that?
Yeah, I waited a long time. It was staggered at first, then eventually 2 trains passed by. I got the shot.
I don't think a lot of people have seen that one. It's a pretty freaky experience, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do? What do I do? And then it's over.
The wind is so strong.
I remember just discovering that when I was bored one day. I just was standing there waiting for a friend, and then it happened. And I'm like, well, this is so cool. Let's make an episode. Cool. How long have you been in Japan?
This is the 4th day. I think we're gonna stay here for 6 days. We've been here before, so we just focus on Tokyo. I'm with my wife.
Oh, she's shy. She's hiding. That's all right. You see her there.
I was about to go when you had your midnight snack run, but I was afraid of missing the trains.
Yeah. You probably would have missed the train.
Yeah.
You probably would have missed the train.
I would have joined your shenanigans in the park.
That would have been fun. That would have been fun. This is actually about how Japan is increasing the tax to 10% next month. What's the tax rate for like sales tax in
12%.
Philippines? 12%. So Japan would still be less than the Philippines.
Yeah.
Did they raise it recently?
I don't think so. It's been like that for a while.
Yeah. It's kind of high.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's kind of high. So I'm making an episode to explain. That wouldn't deter you from coming to Japan, right? If things are 2% more?
I don't think so.
No? Yeah.
I think the exchange rate right now, like from the Philippines, it's not as low as before. It used to be low like a few years back, so it's really good to buy here, especially without like you get the tax refund.
Oh, right. You can get the tax-free stuff.
Yep.
You get that at the airport?
No, if you purchase at least 5,200 yen, you get the tax refund.
Okay. So any purchase 5,200 yen or over?
Yep.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's pretty.
And you
that's
have to
pretty good.
show your passport. You're gonna put stamps, and you don't. And if it's, I don't know the classification, but if you don't, you can't use it inside Japan. I don't know, like consumables, I think.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to open it when you have left already.
I see. Yeah. You guys have any questions to ask? Till, right?
Mill.
Sorry. Do you have any questions for Mill to ask? Anybody? We have a pretty big Philippine audience.
Yeah. I
Got a lot
see
of people.
When I joined the live chat, I see a lot of from Manila.
Yeah. Oh, we got Jem here, Jem Defensor. Thank goodness I caught another live stream of yours, John, from the Philippines, because I could see PHP. You're very welcome. Is everything taxed in the Philippines? When does Pac-Man fight again? I don't know. Do you know?
I don't follow.
He doesn't follow. Doesn't follow. All right. Well, thanks, Mel. It's nice to meet you
Yep.
and your wife over there.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good trip.
Thanks.
That was nice. Not everybody follows Pac-Man. Maybe they should. Pac-Man started his own cryptocurrency. That's pretty crazy. All right, so very, very nice to meet Mill and his wife. And they told me that the minimum that you can get for this tax-free, as the Shinkansen rolls by, the minimum you can get for this tax-free, it starts at 5,200 yen, which is about $50. And anything less than that, you have to pay the 10% tax. It's just a consumable. So that's something that you should know. Yeah, about 5,200 yen, I guess, with the tax. So there's a lot of stuff I think that's going to change around here, including like shopping. Now, I don't know if people in Japan are stop buying, but I can tell you this right now: not a lot of people are buying anything anyways right now. The economy is so uncertain that if you go into a lot of the electronic stores when people are buying and taking advantage of the summer sales, they weren't as robust as they were in years past. It's just there's not a good feeling in the economy right now. And this 10% tax, the 2% hike, is not something that's welcomed by everybody, including the party that's against Prime Minister Abe, the Social Democrats. I forget the name of the party. There's the LDP and the other one. Of course, they're going to criticize the Prime Minister. But I think that they have to raise the taxes anyways. You just simply cannot have... I think the debt was over $11 trillion. Put that in perspective. I mean, the U.S. debt is pretty high. Japan's might even be higher. It's pretty darn high, too. All right? And it's just growing and growing, and they just can't keep up with it. If you don't raise the taxes, there's just no way that Japan can continue to operate. But the political maneuvering is not easy for Prime Minister Abe, Shinzo Abe. So a lot of respect for how he's trying to handle this. You just cannot delay it, even though he probably should. But they've already delayed it twice. The actual 10% tax increase was supposed to happen in 2014, 3 months after the 8% tax hike. They delayed that. And then it was supposed to be raised, I think it was last year. But they delayed that too, which is smart. And now they just cannot delay it anymore, I think. There's just nothing more that they can do beyond this point. And I think that's one of the reasons why Japan is a safe currency. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people believe in the Japanese yen. They do the responsible thing. And to raise the taxes, it's a politically unpopular thing, but it's something that needs to be done. And Japan does a better job of using those tax dollars, I think, than other countries. Although they are corrupt, just caveat, asterisk here. They are a little bit corrupt sometimes, but they do a pretty good job because I've seen it with the airport tax. There is no job and raise taxes. I see some of the comments coming in. The Olympics can charge $20 for a hot dog. I think no one would buy it, but hot dogs aren't a really big seller in Japan anyways. You're probably going to be buying takoyaki. So, yeah, they could charge a little bit more for that, and they're going to have to because of the tax increase. I'm looking at some of the questions here. Is buying winter clothes cheaper during the summertime? Actually, buying winter clothes would be cheaper right now because of the tax increase. But you buy winter clothes when they're available. The thing is, the taxes for the clothing, when you shop for clothing, and this doesn't have to do with the tax thing, Japan is like a lot of other countries, but they do it more in advance. The autumn clothing has already been out for the last 2 weeks, and it's still really hot. It came out in the middle of summer. They start selling autumn clothes. And you don't really see the summer clothes go on sale that much. They just sort of disappear. But you can find them on sale, and it's very short. So I think it would be better to buy the clothes when you need it. And I'll tell you something, as a Westerner here, the sizes that I want are gone, so I can't find them even on sale because the other Westerners probably pick it up. I don't know. But it's very hard to find shoes and clothes and shirts, especially if you're a popular size. So maybe there might be a sale, but you won't get what you want. Income tax in Toronto can go up to 49%. That's a good point, but actually the consumption tax in Canada is only 5%, according to the document that I have here. Although other taxes might be higher, the standard consumption tax of Canada, I believe, according to this, is 5%. And European countries, the standard tax is up to like 25% or even higher, which I think is necessary to pay off their public debt, which they got in their situation from irresponsibility from before probably, and making promises they couldn't keep. You know what I mean? And we all have to pay for it. Argentina is a 21% tax. That's really, really high. And the United States teeters between like no tax, which is Delaware and New Hampshire and probably some other states, to like 5 to 6 to 8% depending on the state. And how they use those tax dollars, I'm not really sure. This is the thing I know for sure about the Japanese tax. According to the documents, which I know for sure because it's written there, the consumption tax is meant for paying for the public debt. That's what they write in all the literature. And you have to take them at their words, where the state tax, I don't know what they do with that. Do you? Do you know what they do with the 20% tax in the UK? I'm not really sure. But Japan's mission is to use all of that income, and they really have no choice to pay off the debt. And that kind of responsibility is what gives the yen its strength, despite having $11 trillion in debt. It's crazy. It's a different kind of debt than the United States national debt. Although no debt is good. I used to be in debt. Paid off my credit card and didn't really have many student loans either. University, I was at a point where university was not as expensive as it is today. I don't know what happened. It just skyrocketed after 1992. I like how they put these jet streamers here to cool down the public walking by right outside of the station. Patreon taxes. I don't know. This is just for Japan. I do have a Patreon page. I'm just reading the comments here. The Patreon page is the support's doing well, and that's why you don't see a lot of Squarespace and what is it? Squarespace, and what's the other one? Skillshare? Squareshare. I call the two of them Squareshare. Every YouTuber has a Squarespace or a Skillshare ad in there, and I believe they get paid like $500 to $5,000 depending on how many followers they have. But because I have Patreon, I don't need to do anything like that in any of the channels. Not that there's anything wrong with it. The viewer has to decide what they like to watch and don't watch, and I'm not using any of the Square Skills sponsor money yet. Yeah. Oh, hello! You found me. How you doing? I'm live. Is that okay?
I'm your fan.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm your subscribe your channel. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, you did. Look at that.
I'm your subscribe channel.
Awesome.
And then coming in. Can we click a photo?
Yeah, sure. You want to take it out here?
Yeah.
Where are you
I'm
from?
a subscriber. I'm from India.
All right. Welcome.
Finally.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
You're in the area now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
He's my Japanese friend.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Konnichiwa.
Just a click a photo.
Oh yeah, sure.
Finally. Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Sandeep Chaurasia.
Sandeep.
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys gonna eat ramen or something?
We go to Odaiba today.
Oh, Daiba.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's hot one.
I like your channel. Thank you again. Yeah, thank
You're
you
very
so much.
welcome. Have a good day, guys.
Nice day.
Yeah. That's nice. From India. Yes. So will Big Camera survive? Will Big Camera survive the amazing tax hike from 8 to 10%? Only time will tell. I believe they'll pull through just fine. But my biggest concern is consumer confidence. Will they keep shopping? Will they keep buying? And you can see right now, not a lot of people are going into big camera. 10 years ago it was a lot more active. It is Tuesday afternoon after all. And I will probably buy my TV, that TV that I was telling you about, as soon as it goes on sale again, because it's still way too high to pay $3,000 for any TV, or $1,000 for any smartphone for that matter. But we paid anyways. What's another 2%, right? 2% rise according to Mark Higgins. 2% rise is not bad. 18% here in Australia. Yeah. A lot of the countries have really been raising their taxes over the last decade just because of debt and public. You just have to pay for the things that you want, right? Governments are the same. You're patient with spontaneous followers. Thank you, Irvin. I try my best. It's really nice. I do these live streams sometimes very spontaneously, and when people can find me, like I'm in front of a national monument like big camera, which has been here forever. This is a very famous meeting spot. People are bound to find me. It's really cool. I'm glad that Sandeep and Mil from the Philippines could come and say hi. It's nice when I get a chance to meet. I don't get out that much. Yeah. Let's see right now how much bicycles are in Japan, and then try to figure out the taxes. So I'm still looking at your questions here. Hey Chame Take, where are you at now, John? Please do live stream in Kawasaki. I'm at Yurakucho. So this bicycle, which has a battery power in the back, but made by Bridgestone, which is a Japanese company, which I didn't know until about a couple of years ago, is 79,000 yen. And with the tax right now, it's 183. See what I mean with the 8% tax? It's really hard to figure it out. But when it's 10% tax, it's going to be 10% more of this. And I guess it's just easier to figure it out. The tax will be 7,900. The tax will be 7,970 yen about. Same with this bicycle here, which also has a battery. This is 12,000. Oh, this one doesn't have a battery. This is a Saimoto Jidensha. And this one is 12,080 yen, or about $120. And right now it's this price with the tax, and you can add on 2% more to the final price in 29 days, actually, 29 days. So it gives you an idea of how things are going to change here in Japan, for better, for worse. And it's also happening during the Rugby World Cup, I believe. So we'll see the price hike maybe mentioned by Western media. What is this, origami pay? They're always coming up with weird new systems I don't understand in Japan. PayPal is PayPay. This looks like PayPal. Line Pay. D Point, which is Docomo points. Wow, there's so many ways to pay these days. Yeah. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna do right now is to walk together and take your questions on this to the vending machine corner, which is a place that I go to, and thankfully, vending machine items will not be taxed. I don't know if the vending machine is gonna go up. I'll tell you what though, I get a feeling they might. Alright, the last time the vending machine prices went up was in 1987 and 1988. 1997 and 1998. Vending machines, when I arrived in Japan in 1998, were 110 yen for a drink. And now they're 120 yen. 1998, the vending machine started to change from 110 to 120. I have a feeling that the drinks are now going to change from 120 to 130 yen, just because of the taxes, I guess. But according to the government in Japan, not everything is taxed, and everyday items like supermarkets and stuff won't get the tax right away. One last thing I want to point out as we walk towards the vending machine restaurant, I'm getting into it in 30 minutes in advance. This is a transitional system, meaning they have like a simplified way to do this, and then in 2023, it becomes an invoice-based system. And I don't know exactly what that means, but as a business owner here, I'm gonna have to decode that. The information again is in that PDF that I showed you, the printout. Just a little bit of information to kind of explain it in English, and then I'll have to be asking my accountant what this all means, because 10% sales tax on another system, I'm not sure how you deal with that. What does an invoice-based system mean compared to a simplified system? They don't really explain that too well. So things are going to change again. The Prime Minister, though, Abe-san, who's very brave. He's a leader. He's a very brave man. He takes the good with the bad pretty well. He said that Japan does not need to raise taxes, he believes, for another decade. That's a promise I wonder if he can keep. But it's the only way. What his job is right now is to try to relax the public because of what happened in 2014 when they raised the tax then from 5 to 8%. There was a buying spree of 6 months before, cars, TVs, and then there was a massive dead period. So if you're buying a car now, apparently there are some benefits to buying it after the tax increase, like a reduced annual tax on your car, which is good. Things like this. Here's the vending machine corner, and oh, look, he's got the door open. That's pretty cool. Do you see on the left side of the shop inside, there's a guy who will sell snacks every now and then. He's the owner of it. But these drinks here, I think the prices are going to go up. It's just my gut says that. My gut's been expanding thanks to the beautiful craft beer industry also growing here in Japan. All right, Nosh Abroad would know. Nosh Abroad was here with me last year. Let's see if I can get a drink here. All right, these prices are really high. For a little bottle of tea, it's 140 yen. So you can see that the price, the prices have already gone up. Hey, wait a minute. A can of coffee should not cost 130 yen. It should cost 120 yen. I think I'm starting to see that the prices have gone up everywhere. All right, I need to confirm this. I'm now going to just take this, I'm going to extend this live stream. If you do like these informational live streams, click the like button, audience participation. I'm going to go to the zombie apocalypse vending machine where I saw the white pigeon last month, and then see if the prices have gone up there. Because if they have, this is actually news that we can say that the vending machine prices have gone up. Right there, everything has gone up 10 yen. It's kind of crazy. So Nosh, next time we go to hit that vending machine corner, we gotta pay 10 yen more. You can't get a tax write-off on that. It's under 50, unless we drink a lot. You get a receipt, $50. And then you can get your tax back, maybe. I don't know. Apparently, alcohol is not supposed to, and drinks are not supposed to rise, but they're gonna rise the price anyways to prepare for it, I guess. So the makers are preparing. The thing with the rising prices is that Japan thought that inflation would also rise, and it didn't. It just decreased less, but it still decreased. I have a degree in economics. Not that I use it that often, but it's interesting to see the charts, and I love looking at the data and to see how the country's doing on the whole. And Japan is, compared to other countries, doing better, but still the public debt is really hurting Japan a lot. And I don't know if 2% is enough, actually. I don't know if that's going to make much of a dent in helping. It's a generational thing. The best way, and any economist is going to tell you this, the best way to erase a debt is to increase economic activity, and then all of a sudden the coffers just rise so much that you pay off an 11 trillion debt in like 3 years. But that requires economic activity, and right now we just don't have it anywhere, except maybe, I don't know, where they have it. All right, we're doing a check here just to see. Oh my word, they have. Nosh, this is real. The prices have gone up 10 yen. This used to be 120 yen just a couple months ago. Now they're all 130 yen. They've gone up. This is big news, everybody. Now these stayed at 100. But all the main staples that were 120 are now, and the Coca-Cola, which was 150 yen, is now 160 yen. That's interesting. How much is Super Dry after tax now? Mr. Das? How dare you try to get me in trouble at 1 p.m.? I know what you're talking about, Mr. Das. I know what that Super Chat is for. Can we all get along? Hey, it's one of those zombie pigeons again. Where's your friend, the white pigeon, huh? Huh? Talking to you. Supposed to be an informational live stream. Danny writes in, "Hi John, have a nice day. Buy something for Kanai." You got it. I'll buy it now before the tax goes up. I won't wait until October 1st, Danny. Thank you so much. I'll buy something on my way home for Kanai. We are looking for a new TV. I've had the same TV for almost 15 years now, so. But if I wait too long, then the taxes get taken and I'm paying more. We don't like that. Godzilla doesn't like that. It might be time for another rampage in the city. John, buy a Japanese brand TV. The problem with that is that any OLED is made by a Korean company. So even Sony's OLEDs are made by LG. So Sony doesn't just makes the electronics in there, but they're still paying for the OLEDs from LG because LG makes all the best OLEDs. They probably make the only OLEDs right now at a scalable price to make it worthwhile. So LG TVs are a lot cheaper in Japan, by 10% cheaper than the Sony ones, but the Sony one does look good. And I'm somebody who likes to buy Japan and America when I can. But I will also buy the best of the best if I can too. And it's all about that. And Hitachi. My TV right now is a Sharp and Aquios, and I've always been happy with Sharp, so I might look at Sharp as well. But we don't have Samsung here. Cyberzoni writes in Samsung QLED. We don't have that here. You can't find Samsung TVs in Japan. I looked to compare the quality. I wasn't gonna buy it. I couldn't find it. So, yeah. Look, and we have right now like a cultural boycott between Korea and Japan, probably at the worst possible time, because I think if Korea and Japan can find ways to work better and work together, then it's going to make this such a massive economic zone, I think. Just like we did in the 2002 World Cup when Korea and Japan shared the World Cup. That was like a really awesome time for both of the countries. And apart from that, it's just really tough. And I can understand both sides, but it would be a lot better if we didn't have, we could move on. I thought we did, but I still like Korea despite all the trolls that hurt the channel by saying how bad Japan is. Hi John, I'll be going, hey, this is Urze. I'll be going to the Sanrico Railway in Iwate to travel to the entire North Coast by train. That's awesome. Any recommendations, greetings, and keep up the channel strong. I don't really have that many recommendations. I don't know. I did an episode in Iwate, but I never lived up there and I didn't spend a lot of time up there. That side of the coast is something that I would like. Actually, I'm going to ask you, Urzai, when you finish the trip to get in touch with me. That whole coast between Aomori, Iwate, and Miyagi Prefecture right there, I don't know that much about. I've been there, that's about it. And we got there by car, and I'm really jealous, actually, about your trip. So keep in touch and tell me more about this. Absolutely. I just know that the people are really friendly out there, and if you stay, the food is amazing, especially the seafood. And it's really reasonably priced. So you eat like double the amount as you do in Tokyo for fresher quality food. It's pretty nice. So you're gonna have a pretty good experience. And I'm glad. I like that you're doing that too. Something that's different than everybody else. Not that many. You won't see too many Westerners, too many foreigners out there. This here is the Midtown. There's a Midtown building in Roppongi. This one is the one in Hibiya, and they're also going to be experiencing the 10% sales tax, including Lexus right here. Lexus was an unknown brand until a few years ago in Japan. This is the luxury brand for Toyota. But Toyota was Toyota, and in itself a luxury brand in Japan. Therefore, they didn't need it. But to spur up more, shall we say, interest, they brought the Lexus brand here. And as a result, people are now buying Lexuses. Probably paying more for it, too. And in a month, 2% more. Although the automobile tax will be decreased. It's a little incentive not to wait or not to be afraid. Cinema here. I appreciate everybody the questions. It's I think it's an important topic and something that you should be made aware of, because a lot of people are going to be coming to Japan this fall. And if you're coming in September, and then the next day your tax goes up, or you're staying in a hotel between September and October, you should realize that something weird might be happening with your invoice. You might want to ask the hotel or some of the services in Japan, how will the tax increase affect my stay or something like this. It's just 2% more, but it's something that you should be made aware of. That's all I really have. I appreciate the questions. I love my Lexus, right? It's in meat, motorsports. Lexuses are good. I don't have any car, so I appreciate your Lexus. Is it colder in January in Tokyo? Now these are general questions. In Tokyo, then in the United States? No, New York is way colder. When you get those Alberta Clipper fronts come through from Canada, we don't have stuff like that. And Japan's an island, so it's very moderate. The seas around Japan keep the temperatures pretty moderate. So Tokyo is never really that. Tokyo is like Washington, D.C., I think, weather-wise. I put it like there. It's pretty warm. You don't get a lot of snow, and when it snows, it melts the next day. Can we get a quick tour of the Lexus showroom? I'm looking at it, and it looks like a restaurant. I don't know. Lexus meets Hibiya. I don't know what that means, but it looks like it's like shops and a restaurant. Hold on, I'll take you to the window. The humidity is pretty good now. It's gone down a lot the last couple of days, and it seems to be every time we get to September 1st, the humidity just dies. All right, I'm gonna just take a look into the window here. So that's what's on the showroom here, and they seem to be selling bags and stuff all around it. Don't know what that is. I think you guys will be able to decode what we're looking at more than me. One day I will be a car owner. But that day will not be for a while because I just can't afford the parking. You can buy the car, and then where do you put it? That's Tokyo. You can buy a Lexus bag. Buy a Lexus bag. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. I can take questions for another 3 minutes. We'll round this up out of 45 minutes, which is what I usually do. Click the like button if you do like these kinds of live streams. I did it on other tax hikes. So I might be doing more live streams on news that might be relevant to you traveling to Japan. And this is sort of a big one. So if you like that, you got to let me know and encourage me by pushing the like button. That's how I know. And leave a comment as well. Let's see here. Should I rent a car or use public transportation? I got an episode on this coming. I think that's a really good question. If you have a family, it does make a lot of sense just because of the luggage to have a car. But it might be a little bit more expensive than if you have rail passes. Rail passes for foreign tourists to Japan, especially the Japan Rail Pass, is so cheap. And we're jealous residents of Japan. I can't get a Japan Rail Pass because I'm a resident of Japan. But Westerners who come here, foreigners, doesn't matter where you're from, just not Japan, you get a massive discount. For me to go from Tokyo to Osaka and back, that pays for 7 days of unlimited Shinkansen travel for any tourist. It's not fair, but I still pay. So it's still, I think for 1 week is 26,000 yen. 26,000 yen, which is about $250 for a week of unlimited Shinkansen travel. So a family of 4 would be $1,000, and I think you can get a rent-a-car and gasoline and tax for a little bit cheaper than that. So it might pay to have a car and have the flexibility, and you'll be able to put the luggage in the back. But if you're papa and drives, then you can't drink any sake because you're driving. So that might also be something to consider. Drinking and driving in Japan is even more strict, although you should never do it in any country that you're in. But they're pretty darn strict here with that, of course, because it's a very crowded, it's a country with a lot of people in tight spaces, like in Tokyo. Hey John, I'll be traveling to Japan in early November. Will you have a meetup? Not sure. I guess you can. I usually will announce all of my meetups on Patreon, on the Discord server, and Facebook, because we do a meetup page on Facebook. I plan on doing one at the end of September, and then we'll wait and see. I appreciate asking though. I can't live stream inside of any of the events during the Olympics because NBC owns the broadcasting rights and they're very strict. Just like you can't live stream from Yankee Stadium. You know, because somebody else owns the rights to be streaming that live. You can get in trouble. And I live here in Japan. If I was a tourist, maybe I would try. I don't know. You shouldn't, but maybe I would. But because I live here and I'm gonna be here after the Olympics and before the Olympics and 10 years past the Olympics, I'm not gonna try to do something that breaks the rule. It's not worth it. But I have to tell you this though. I think the stuff going on around the Olympics that NBC will not be covering will be way, way, way more interesting. I mean, ping pong is a great sport, but I don't want to cover that and be stuck in a chair inside the ping pong arena for an entire afternoon. No offense. It's probably getting really intense there. I'd rather be outside at the pop-up stands where people are drinking and eating and being merry and crazy stuff from all over the world and get a sense of from them what life is like in Japan and things like that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have so much fun on this channel. If we can get the channel subscribers up to like 200, 250,000, we'll have even more access. When you have a subscriber base on any channel, it buys you access because you're taking a lot of people. Right now we got 1,000 people watching. We're taking you somewhere. And when I ask for permission for stuff, I said, can we live stream it? I'm gonna bring 1,000 people with me. People are more often to say yes. Businesses will say yes. Next time if I ask Lexus, can I live stream in here? They might say yes, because it makes sense for them to take time off and introduce Lexus to you, maybe. So the more subscribers we have for the channel, the better access we'll have in 2020 for the Olympics. And I promise you, these live streams are gonna be pretty awesome, I believe, for the Olympics. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I've already got some plans and I'm working on the access for other events that NBC won't cut me off. Dual citizenship is not something that I think either Japanese or American can have for most situations. Japanese have to pick their citizenship at age 20. And you can have dual citizenship in Japan until you're 20, and then you have to pick one. So if Kanai and I have kids, they can be American and Japanese, and at age 20, they have to pick one or the other one. You can't keep both, although some people will keep it a little bit longer as a result. Let's see here. I heard you can't buy deodorant in Japan. That's not true. They have deodorant, it's just not very good. You might have to use just baking soda. You know, apparently that's a natural cure for everything. Or, if you know any servicemen in the Navy, you can go to Yokosuka. They have American supermarkets there. But there's also a lot of places in Tokyo that have American goods like this. I think National Azabu is a supermarket a lot of foreigners go to, and they carry things like that because they know that people are going to be buying deodorant. But if you want to live a life with that deodorant, most of that smell comes from processed meats and food that you eat. And I noticed that in Japan, people don't wear that deodorant and they don't smell so bad. So it's just something to keep in mind. I don't think they sell deodorant here because there's not really a bad odor problem with the people as I go around showing you people. I mean, there's very little smell in Japan. You get on the subway, she's like, why doesn't it smell here? She doesn't need any deodorant. Her arms raised in pride. She says, smell this, no smell. Look at that. See what I mean? But that's Japan. I've never had boy, this guy really smells problem on the subway. And in New York, I had that before I even get on the subway. So it smells. So I'm trying to answer some of these questions. If you eat a lot of shrimp, you probably smell like a prawn. Chris Hansen, probably. You are what you eat, they say. I hope I don't stink up Tokyo next month, Mark Higgins. All right, and if your shoes stink, it's time to buy new shoes. All right, I'm just some advice to dudes out there. Wear socks, and if your feet stink, then you buy new shoes. You gotta let them go. All right, it's not good for your feet. Do they sell chewing gum in Japan? Yes, they do. They sell Lotte, which is a Korean company, is the most popular one. I'm telling you, the two countries are so intertwined. I don't know why they're fighting on these issues. They should be able to resolve it without having an economic impact. But yeah, chewing gum is pretty good in Japan. They have one called Black, which has caffeine in the gum. That'll keep you going. Farhan writes in here, we pay up to 35% tax. Where's here? Farhan, you gotta let us know where you're writing in from. 10% is still way below what we can comprehend. 35% is pretty high. Antiperspirant is more the issue here in Japan. Nothing stops the sweat in summer. Japan Kofun is absolutely right. It's just sweating is the problem more than the smell. Everything is sticky wet because of the sweat. John, does Japan have a tourism tax? I don't believe that they do, but there is a departure tax at Narita Airport, and I did an episode on it. Kind of cleared up what the tax is used for, because whenever you pay a tax, I think it's very important to know what the tax is for, right? So the tax was to put in new technology at the airport so that would speed up going in and out of Japan, and it has actually sped up. So they've delivered on what they promised to do, and I think the tax is a good thing for that situation. It's only 1,000 yen, but if they follow up and make it easier and they use the tax for what it's intended, I think it's not always a bad thing. Just depends if we need it, right? There's debate. We pay 13% tax in British Columbia. What's the best way to learn Japanese? Come to Japan. These are easy. What do you want me to say? August weather is terribly humid. True story. Bangkok, everything cheap. Mark, you're right about that. No advertising, please. Hello. Yeah. So I see our moderators are hard at work. BO, and Nosh writes in very detailed. BO is about bacteria and body chemistry. Ethnicities with dry earwax tend to have mild BO. Ethnicities with wet earwax tend to have strong BO. I have medium. But I will tell you this, Nosh. And how do we were supposed to be at taxes. I'll tell you this. After we come back from America, Kanai says I smell different because of the food I was eating in the US. And then after about a week, she says my American smell goes away. I don't know what that means, besides what she said it should mean. It means I stink when I'm in the US because of what I eat. It's a lot of sweets and cold cuts. And when I come back to Japan eating tofu and rice, that's not exactly what I eat all the time. I smell a lot better, apparently. Pizza too, you're right, I eat a lot of pizza and meat. It's the US. Come on, meat's cheaper than vegetables. The meat sweats, right? Makes me remember Joey from Friends when he had the meat sweats at Thanksgiving because he devoured that turkey like 3 bites. I think newspapers, but that's a good, thanks for bringing that up, Chang. Kawaii writes in here, newspapers have a reduced tax rate. They do, it depends on how often they publish, how often they release the newspapers. So some newspapers will get hit and some newspapers won't, depending on how often they do. And newspapers are one industry that should not get hit because they're already really on end. Yeah. It was Friends, not Seinfeld. It was the meat sweats from Thanksgiving Day. Is being fat in Japan not a good thing? I noticed that nobody has questions on taxes. This is the live stream on taxes. For those that are still watching, we do not get a lot of questions on the relevant material sometimes. They all have to do with visiting Japan. All right. Being fat in Japan is neither a good or bad thing. Remember, sumo wrestlers are treated like living treasure here, okay? And they're big, but they're not fat. I remember when I was working with a sumo wrestler, and I asked him if he was fat, and he smiled, and then he flexed, and it was like not fat. There might be some fat on top of the muscle, but I'll tell you something, sumo wrestlers are not fat. They will kick your butt and while showing you their butt. It's not fat. But with that, I don't think it really matters if you're a foreign tourist. We just assume that you are bigger than the people here. I'm being honest here. Like, we assume that if you're coming from abroad, you're going to be bigger. And one of the things when I talk with the taxi cab company, did you see that one going by that looks like an English taxi cab right there? One of the reasons they designed that taxi is so that the cabs inside can be bigger to accommodate foreign tourists. I'm not joking. That's one of the reasons why these new cab styles exist, because people are bigger. They eat more. It's just, they're also probably, if we were going to go to war, we wouldn't want to go with against the United States because people are just too big. Soldiers are huge, not just with muscles and body. So I'm being really silly, but I'm not. Just Americans are pretty strong. All right, I see some more trucks. They would also be taxed. I'm trying to go back to taxes a little bit before we end this. Where do Western men buy shoes in Japan? Jeez, what's that something to do with taxes? Western men can buy shoes at the big and tall shops. There's about a dozen of them in Tokyo and Osaka. All you have to do is put in big, tall Japan. Probably come up with a dozen hits. Read my lips, no new taxes. Yeah, if you no income taxes, but consumption tax is something that they kind of need. How else is Japan going to pay off its social debt? They haven't had any economic boom since the 1990s, and they just don't have a population of working people to pay anything. So it's kind of a tough situation. Taxes are the only way. Taxes are the only way. When you say that, you won't get elected as president. But this is Japan. It's different. Era, we had somebody from the Philippines, Mills, tell us about the tax rate. He says it's been that way for a while. The stock market is mostly government owned. This causes inflation pressure. I wish there was a little bit more inflation in Japan. And I say that because then wages will rise naturally, things will rise naturally, but we don't have that kind of activity in Japan, just because we don't have, the young people today don't want to spend. They live more frugally, so they don't buy a lot of stuff. They buy stuff that's disposable but cheap. So it's actually the Chinese tourists that fuel a lot of the economy by buying a lot of the big name brand items and take them back to China. But they don't pay tax on that because they get like a value added tax to get that off. But a lot of the big brand shops, especially in Ginza, they depend on tourists from China to buy the goods. And they haven't, and even China's economy is slowing down, and they're not buying the goods in Ginza either. And once the taxes go up to 10%, it's going to be harder to make those sales. So we're gonna see a big shift in Japan. Over Arturo, thank you. I'm actually, the longer this live stream goes on, the more I'm thinking about a cold beer at a beer garden. Hibiya Park's over there on the other side, and I go there for live streams. The Nabe Festival, the Fisherman's Festival, the Tokyo Wagyu Festival might be going on in a couple of days, actually. There's a Wagyu Festival in Tokyo, so if you're interested in that, there's a live stream on it from last year. I might go back for that. Where was I? But a beer tax is not going to happen. And I'm gonna leave you with this, all right? We were talking about taxes in Japan. For those that are joining us, because I saw that we just got a burst here. For those of you joining us, the tax rate is gonna be increasing from 8 to 10% on October 1st. Not a lot of people are talking about it yet, but they will be, so you're gonna see a lot more information on this and the repercussions of it. In 2014, when the tax went up, there was a recession after they raised it from 5% to 8%. Because people bought until April 1st, and then there was no buying at all. Japanese stockpiled goods. I remember friends that had like cases of beer in their apartment, just saying, I'm not paying 3% more for beer. If I can get it for 5% instead of 8%, I'm gonna drink this for the rest of the year. There are people who had that kind of thinking in Japan after the last one. So the government has been more careful. It's only a 2% instead of a 3% increase, but it's still an increase. We're gonna see a lot more in the news about this. How does it affect tourists? As I said before, if you buy over 5,200 yen at many places, you can get the tax back. So you get 10% off. So my mom, would it be illegal for my mom to buy the computer for me? That would pay for her to visit, right? Hey mom, if you come to Japan, I'll pay for your ticket. Yeah. Just buy me the computer. But tourists can get the tax back on anything over 5,000. But little things, you're gonna have to pay 2% more. And it's to help to pay for the public debt, which is a result of too many old people and not enough people working to pay for the benefits. The premiums are only half of what is needed for the benefits, and public support, apart from the premiums, which is what I pay for health insurance and stuff, makes up the difference. It's supposed to, but it's not. And that's why they gotta raise the taxes. And that's why Japan is always a safe haven currency, because they do the responsible thing. They never do the political thing with money, they always do the responsible thing. Japanese households are the same. The wife controls the money in Japan, not the husband, because they're more responsible. Just saying. Which means that the prime minister's wife might be more powerful than the prime minister. Just saying. Mrs. Abe has a lot to say behind the scenes, I'm sure. So the women of Japan deserve a lot more respect. They're just behind the scenes with the puppet strings with all the money. So the women control all the money in Japan. I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there because it's kind of true. Kanai's a lot better with money than I am. It's very, very true. Very, very true. How rich is the emperor? I'm not really sure. We can ask him. He's just over there. I don't think I'll get past the guards though. What are your recommendations for tourists once this goes into effect? My recommendations were, if you're coming here on a very limited budget, and thanks for asking this, if you're coming to Japan on a very limited budget, I'm gonna sit down right here, and I'm gonna go get a drink. You might wanna, and there are tourists that are coming from other countries, they're very much budgeted, meaning if you're coming from a country that's not like a country where wages are high, you're spending a lot more money than I am for every day if you come to Japan. There's lots of people that are doing that because their dreams are to come and visit Japan as a tourist. So 2% is a big deal. What I can say is that there's gonna be sales. Look for the sales, look for bargains. If you're eating food at convenience stores, not all convenience stores charge the same amount of, the same price. So if there's a Lawson's and a Family Mart and a 7-Eleven, maybe go into all three and compare the prices, and you might be able to save enough money in the long run. If you're going out to restaurants, know that the restaurants are not affected by this tax right now. Beer is not affected by this tax right now. So if you're coming here to drink, Yahoo. If you're coming here to buy, just to shop, it's 2% more. And you can get that money back if it's over 5,000 yen. Just plan accordingly. I think if you make hotel reservations now, it's not affected either, I believe. So it might be good to make it now. Look into that. The hotel tax, I know it depended on the location of some of the places. Kyoto in itself had its own hotel tax, I believe. So some locations, and it was just because of a supply and demand problem. There are too many tourists in Kyoto and not enough rooms. So Kyoto can add a tax, and the tax is used to do all sorts of things. Like, they don't just waste the money and go out to Wagyu restaurants and eat Kobe beef. They use that tax for other things. I'm not sure about the Kobe tax, the Kyoto tax. But in general, Japan is very good with the taxes that it uses, and it goes to the right people. And I said this already with an asterisk. There's corruption in Japan too, so don't think it's a perfect system. You're very welcome. A lot of people weren't aware of the tax, so I'm glad to know that this is useful. If you like these informational stuff, I'll say it again to the 1,100 people watching. Click the like button, because that's how it encourages me to do more topics that are the same. If it's a video that's well liked, I know that this is important to you. And if you want to make sure you don't miss a live stream, click the bell and make sure always is on, not sometimes, because you could pick the level of notification. Live streams are 15 times a month at least. You don't want to miss them. Thanks. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna take you back to Godzilla and then say goodbye, because I gotta walk this way anyway. That's why I might as well take you with me. If it's your first time to Tokyo, Japan, this is a neat area where that's been rebuilt right across from Hibiya Park, between Hibiya and Ginza right now. This is a famous cinema area. This is where a lot of people, Yurakucho, they would come out for entertainment. You can see Toho Cinema on the left side is the big cinema and movie production house. And this is where Godzilla and the Walk of Fame used to be, where actors would put their hands into cement just like they would do in Hollywood. They had that here in Yurakucho, but it's since been moved. And they've constructed this massive building here that you see called Hibiya Midtown, which now has a ton of shops. And on the other side of this building, there's a new Godzilla statue, because the old one was the 1950s Godzilla, you know, the one with a guy inside the costume tearing down models that were very well built, by the way. Now it's more of a lifelike looking Godzilla that you just don't want to tangle with at all. So I'm going to show you that, and then that's all she wrote. It's a neat, Yurakucho is one of my favorite places to walk, because it's not as crowded as Shibuya and Shinjuku, and it's got a lot of the same stuff. So you might want to spread it out a little bit. Ginza's a pretty chill place too, especially on the weekend. You can already see the Godzilla, right? That used to be a Starbucks as well, but it's in one of the rare situations Starbucks closed that location. They never give up property. Well, almost never. And they gave this one up right in the middle. Right there, you get a nice view of the trains going by. That's the Yamanote line between there. And as taxes go up, Godzilla goes higher and bigger, fueled by consumption. That's so true. Godzilla is fueled by consumption. So as the consumption tax goes up, so does Godzilla's rage. And Japan will be just fine, I think, with a 2% increase. But I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it, and now you know. And leave a question in the comments below. Don't feel the rage. Leave your rage below, and everything will be fine. Calm down. We were here 4 years ago, and 6 years ago, and 5 years ago when the taxes were raised. We'll still be here tomorrow. We'll be here October 2nd when the tax rate is 10%. And beer will still be 8%. And the world will be fine. Tax kill Godzilla. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good night wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you tuning in for so long. Oh, lunch truck. Very nice. See you, everybody.